welcome back. This next section, we're going to get into some data. We've got a few more slides we're going to try to show you, and these slides are full of data. So you got to kind of take a deep breath and get ready to look inside some metrics about what it's like in an IGA market here in the US. And I'm here joined with two really cool folks. So Doug Fritsch, who's my partner, and he is the SVP at IGA, in charge of store development and anything else that we do, right? And a veteran. And of course, Sean Yambor's back, and he is the owner of Fair Value here in Lenoir, North Carolina. So first off, you are willing to let us look at data on your store. We're actually looking real live data here. That's a brave man, sir. Fortunately, it's all good news. So
yes, we're willing to learn and hope we can help somebody out there today.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so we built this set inside. You can't see it here, but we built the set inside the store, in order for us to be able to have the masks off and to be able to talk like this. And so also thank you for letting us disrupt your store, because there's a huge crew here making this all come together. So thank you for doing that. All right, so IGA 360. The idea is to grab information that's available in the marketplace, syndicated data, Census Bureau data, media data, and then to go get specific data in and around your stores from the shoppers and people that don't, and put that together for IGA. This is something totally different than what IGA does in the past, right, Doug?
Oh, it is. There was, for so long, what we did is we gave retailers the mark, the brand to use, and IGA private label product, and then we pretty much left them up to their own devices to go figure out how to build sales. And so, this is really a big, different way that we're approaching things today. We have the ability now, when we're walking in the store and a retailer is struggling a little bit, to really understand what is going on in the market. And the reason that that's important, quite frankly, is because with our change in role, we really want to help with sales. We know that we can help. And more importantly, it's our mandate. Our mandate with IGA is to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help a retailer succeed.
So it's cool now. So, we've got so many more parts of the value proposition. So, we've got the great visual merchandising, and we put that in the store, sales go up. And then you have all the stickers that go on the product, and you put that on cut fruit, and cut fruit sales go up, and veg and bakery and whatever. And we know the digital program that drives sales. But none of those aren't really a plan, right? And so if we go and meet with a retailer and we say, we've got all this stuff, that's great, we got more stuff. But how do they actually build their operating plan for the marketplace? And Doug, you're at the center of this.
Right. So by the fact that we now have data, and it's no longer conjecture or, best guess, we really know which competitors are most affecting us. We know the size of the market. We know where the shoppers are. You'll see all that. But we have both the toolkit and the state-of-the-art data to help us figure it out. So with the toolkit, we can take a look at the retailer strengths. Sean, we know from the data, has a fantastic meat program that brings a lot of shoppers in. So we can use visual merchandising to really expand on that and create awareness for the shoppers of just how good that is. The local products that he offers, the things that he bakes in his bakery that are superior, we can talk about those in visual merchandising. Very cool stuff. And then all the digital stuff that you've heard, not only about the weekly ad, but the ability with that content to talk about what is unique and special about Fair Value. And then, another really, important area is the whole idea of training, right? So not only can we help the associates and our retailers learn how to better sell, but we can also excel at customer service. So all great stuff, very affordable, low cost, and it works.
Right. So the idea here is that if a retailer says, hey, I need some help, my sales are off, or I think I should be doing better than I am really doing right now. They don't always, can be whatever. We'll deploy a process. We call that process IGA 360. Sean, you said, I'm in. Let's go ahead and take a look at this data. And we go out and we deploy against it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to these PowerPoint slides, and I'm going to show you some real samples of what that data looks like. Mm-hmm. Then I'll come back and ask you some questions about what you're seeing here. So if we can switch to my screen. It's awesome. Okay, so the first thing you're seeing, this may be a different way of looking at data in and around the store. So if you look at the bar chart over on the right, there's a lot of different colors there. It looks crazy. if you look at the ones where there's a single dollar sign, that represents lower income shoppers. And the dark blue bar represents the amount of business that Sean is getting in his store, his fair value location where we are right now, from these low income shoppers. And the orange bar represents that, and the gray, each one representing slightly farther away from his store. So what those first three bars are telling you, he's getting, a lot of lower income shoppers and moderate income shoppers. He's doing well with them. And of course, the closer you are to the store, the better you do. So that's what you would expect. And then the gold and the lighter blue color, that's the North Carolina average, and then the IGA national average. And so he's able to see how well his store does against other IGAs that would be a similar format and a similar size. So you look at that, and he would look at that and go, my store is serving a value-oriented shopper in my neighborhoods, and I'm doing a better job with it than other stores in North Carolina and other stores in IGA. So that's good. That's great. And if you look at the next one, statistically, those are all about the same. So he's right on par serving medium or moderate income shoppers. He's doing a great job there. And that's what you want to see. You want to see that you're at least at parity, and then you want to be better. You can always be better. But then you look at the one on the far right, those are higher income shoppers. And you see that while he's doing well with them, he is attracting them to the store. And ironically, he's bringing some of them in from farther away than close in. And so that's actually a really good sign. That gray bar in the center says you're actually bringing a lot of store, but there's still opportunity. So you're slightly under the North Carolina average and slightly under the IGA average. Now you look at this and you go, okay, that's not bad news, right? That's just an opportunity. And so we want to know, what is that opportunity? If you were to go out and capture the variance between your, say, that gray bar and the light blue on the far right, if we could capture that, what would that mean for you? And we think that's somewhere around $500,000 in incremental sales. So now we got a target. Let's go get $500,000 sales. So now the question is, how do we go do it? So I'm going to go to this next slide here. And this is a different data source. So in order to explain the slide that you're about to see, you have to imagine that you've got the Weather Channel up on your mobile phone, or you're looking for a local Exxon, or you're trying to find Mark Botanic's wife's toy store in the Carolinas, right? And it says, do you want to enter your location? And the minute you say yes, you've just turned your phone on, and the majority of these, whether it's ESPN or Google or the Weather Channel or OpenTable or UPS or Lyft, the majority of them collect that data, and now your phone is broadcasting where you go all the time. This is like a perfect view into your own shoppers. And so we can track them. You can say, you can buy this data, and that's what IGA is doing. We're buying this mobile phone data, and we're saying, where do our shoppers come from and where do they go? So I'm going to go to this next slide, and Sean, you'll recognize this map. This is your community. That's Lenore. And if you see, there's some circles on this. There's a bunch of green and blue dots, and that represents shoppers that are moderate income. They're coming into your store. They're moderate and lower income. And you can see some orange is slightly higher. But all those dots are people that shows where we think they live and where they're shopping. And how they calculate where they live is they'll say, if that phone stays still between 10 p.m. at night and 6 a.m. in the morning, chances are that's somebody's home. We think that phone lives in that location. And so this gives you the most accurate picture of where your shoppers are and where you're drawing from that we've ever had. And often in retail, we tell these stories, right? We'll come back and say, we'll come say, I'm drawn from this community. I'm drawn from here. And you go, well, how do you know? And, the newspaper will give you some insights sometimes, or local TV stations sometimes. So you can pull some Census Bureau data, but really, really knowing, right? That's really interesting. Now, did that map surprise you in any way?
Certainly. I mean, it's obviously with that data, the amount of possibilities for us to capitalize on that is astounding. Obviously our marketing and advertising budget is a certain thing, and I think we need to explore that.
Okay, well, so let's hold that thought. Okay, so hold your marketing budget for a second. So let's go back to the slide for just a second. And so what we're looking at here is where the shoppers are coming from into your store. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go to this next slide. So the other thing we can say is, for the people who came and spent 7 minutes or more in your store, that's a shopper, where else do they go? This is a perfect picture now of your shoppers' behavior. And so what other stores are they shopping? And on this data, you can see Walmart. It's maybe a little hard to read. Walmart's the top, and we expect that many shoppers are going to shop Walmart. They sell more than food, mm-hmm. and especially in the lower income communities. Sometimes you'll see it be higher. That's a pretty good Walmart that's rocking there. Take a look at this, though. I'm going to click this twice, and two retailers are going to pop up on this. One of them is Food Lion. And that Food Lion store, and I'm going to show you where that store is on the map in just a second. That Food Lion store is grabbing 44% of shoppers who also shop this location. Well, okay, now we know what to go fix because they shouldn't be that good.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go after them. And then down a little bit lower, you'll see there's an Aldi store there that's picking up some stores. That store is actually doing about what you'd expect an Aldi to do, but we'll keep our eye on that store because if it continues to grow, we may want to put strategies against it. Walmart's performing a little bit better than average. Those Walmart neighborhood stores about where you'd expect. The one that's a real standout on this is that Food Lion store. And so when you see a competitor that's behaving stronger in the marketplace than they should, than they do nationally, and this is where IGA comes in, right? So Sean, we're able to say, we'll look at that number and go, well, that's higher than you would expect on an average IGA store. That data looks weird because we get to see all these stores. Let's go put some attention to that. Now, I'm going to go back to the map. I'm going to go to a close-up of it. So all I've done is just zoomed in on that community, and you can see the red one there in the center, on the center left. That's the store we're in now. And you have a second store down that's kind of a pinkish color down on the bottom right, and right in between it is the Food Lion. Now, you actually used to have another store there, right?
Yeah, roughly probably about 3 miles crow fly from that location. So, yeah.
So, sometimes you get an argument with your landlord, and sometimes you can't come to terms on price. Was that ring?
Yeah, it was an antiquated building and needed a lot of work, and we just didn't feel comfortable staying with it at the terms, and we left the market. And when we left that market, we felt like we would retain 20 to 25% of that business between the two stores that geographically were within 6 miles either direction.
Right.
And that might have been a misstep by us.
Well, so the data suggests that they are going to that Food Lion store, and they have picked up volume when you exited. So now we know the business opportunity. It could be as much as $500,000 in sales.
Yep.
And we know exactly where those people are going, right? Let's go back to the slides again. And I'm going to do another here. I'm going to click to this, and we're going to zoom back. Oh, I want to pay attention to this. So that zip code there, you see where I just highlighted in and around that Food Lion, that zip code is going to be our attack region. We're going to focus on that because we are getting shoppers that are driving, but they're also driving to that Food Lion. So know exactly geographically we're going to attack. Now you could go to the newspaper and say, I want to buy, more print in that. And I think you do a lot of solo mail. We could throw some more solo mail into that region. But if I click on this next one, you're going to see that you're actually covering that zip code pretty well with your marketing. Yellow here means you're reaching somewhere between 80 and 100% of your target audience. So you're doing a pretty good job in your zip code and in that zip code. But the big aha on this chart is not that, because you got pretty decent coverage there, but the big aha to me was some of these other zip codes way out away from your store. So you're paying to insert and mail out in those regions. There's not a lot of shoppers.
Right.
So Sean, we calculated what we think that media cost was. I think we were somewhere between, Doug, was it
35 to 40,000.
Yes.
Right. $35,000 of media. It's not reaching a lot of shoppers. Now we say, don't do that. Take that money and let's go back into that center zip code and let's attack using digital and other media techniques. And the great thing about digital is you get 10 for 1 on your return. So chances are you'll maybe spend half of that.
Right. Exactly.
So that had to feel good, right?
Oh, absolutely. That was music to my ears when I heard that. And then the other part of that is we can still involve those people that are out of those districts by a different method, and it'd be a fraction of the price. And so we're not going to lose those people that are in those areas, but we're going to take that and attack in areas that we should. So
the great news is, and there's some dots in that region. If you can get those people on the National Digital Lab, now you're connected to them and you can communicate to them without the cost of a postage stamp, probably $4 or $5 a mailing, right? To reach people, right? Now you've got a relationship with, and it's two-way, and you get them on e-commerce and you win them again. So digital ends up being this gift that keeps giving in order to cover your marketplace.
Right on.
So now we're building a plan, and this is what IGA 360 is all about, right? Is you take insights, you got consumer insights. Now we learn what the problem is. You know the size of the prize, Doug.
Right.
We know where we're going to go. Now we need to know what we should say, right? So if we're going to build this full action plan, we got to know what message that we need to put in it. So now let's go talk to shoppers, and that's what we're going to see next. So you guys know. So I'm sorry, I want to do this slide real quick. This is a tricky one. This is actually a really cool one. You've probably never seen it listed before. So the circle in the middle represents Sean's store. And each of the little things over on the side say, where did the people who came to Sean's store, where do we think they came from? And so if you look at it, 52% of the people that came to your store came straight from home. And then on the right, where did they go afterwards? So 52% of the people came from home, and then 75% went back home because they don't want their ice cream to melt or whatever. Okay, that's very, very common. Now you look at it and say, what percentage of people came from another retailer? So look down there at Walmart. 5% of the people going to Walmart left Walmart and came into your store. That's really good. All right.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we're doing something really well, and I have a suspicion that with our meat business,
Yep.
they are coming right to us for their perishable needs.
So we would write that as a hypothesis, right? When we're doing the full plan, we'd write hypothesis. Are Walmart shoppers shopping meat for meat? And if so, then we're going to build an attack strategy to Walmart, going using meat as the weapon. And if we don't know, we'll go talk to them. We'll go find these shoppers and talk to them. And I'm going to show you that in a second. Let's go back to that chart just again. But then the opportunity on that chart is that people come into his store, 3.7% of the people are going to that food line. So we got to stop that. We want that number to shrink. So now we know the metrics that we're chasing. Right? Now we're building a plan. Okay, so now I'm going to go to this next slide. Next thing we do is we go in and we talk to shoppers. We talk to associates. We say, okay, we got a great store. What do we do better than anyone else? What do you think that we do that drives traffic? And your associates gave you great scores. These are all scores in the 70s or better. This is what you want to see. If you ever do this research and your associates are giving you 40s and 50s, you have a leadership problem, right? This says you have a well-run store with a good management team. So you and they should be very proud. And they're saying cleanliness, they've got a great location. Their weekly ads are strong. We heard this from shoppers. Customer service, their ranking there is very strong. And freshness and quality. Now, the customer service, we would want that to be the number one answer. And whenever we see this not come up as the number one answer, what does it ask for? It asks for training, because we know if you do more training, that customer service thing will raise. So now we're developing our first tactic.
Yep.
If we have better customer service, we'll drive more traffic. The associates believe it. Let's bring in Way to Care, which is our customer training module. Let's get the associates moving on that. And you're already used training really well, Sean, but we're going to crank that up, see if we can't move that to the number one answer. All right. Now, let's talk to the shoppers. What did the shoppers say? What did your shoppers say? People who are loyal to you. They said, great customer service, so that's good. And these are kind of statistically kind of weighted. Freshness and quality, specifically meat. So the shoppers agree with you. You have a great meat department. Cleanliness, your weekly ads and deals, promotions, driving traffic. Look at number 5. Look at in stock.
I'm not surprised there. I mean, based on what we're experiencing with COVID and our competition, I think we've been head and tails above everybody else. And that's actually a lot of attribute goes to IGA. And listening to the program, they're absolutely correct. 10 weeks in advance, we were listening to what was going on in China and the stuff that you were feeding us from China, what was going on. That enabled us to prepare. And we were forward buying and we were preparing, and our supplier also was involved, and so I couldn't thank IGA and their staff, MDI and their staff enough for us being prepared and for our customers, not just us, our customers.
Well, that means a lot. You said that the entire team at Doug's leadership went on what we call the war footing. And Doug rallied the whole troops and said, we're focused on COVID right now. Stop selling people, stop distracting the retailers, give them the information that they need. And of course, the team in China was great at sharing. Okay, Doug, I got a question for you coming up. Okay, so stay with me here. So we're going to go back to the slides now. So we know what your loyal shoppers say about you. Now we want to put that into perspective to people who should be loyal and aren't, right? So these are the people that are shopping that Food Lion, but for whatever reason aren't shopping you. And the question is why? And you beat them on customer service. That's good news. That's great. We'd want that to always be higher. You want that to be higher. It's kind of parity on freshness and quality, but they're beating you on produce. Okay, there's another tactic now. Now we know. Right. And you kind of you knew this a little bit going in, right? But now those shoppers are saying, I might be leaving here and going there for produce, so we're going to go grab them. Cleanliness, you're doing better than them. Weekly ads, there's maybe some opportunities there on value. And then in stock, look how much better you're doing there. It's so interesting seeing in stock now being a weapon that we can deploy in order to drive shopper traffic.
Yep.
Right? And,
awesome analytics.
So now this is just the data, right? So now we got to take this data, and Doug, we got to come back, right? And now we've got the data. Now we have to build an action plan.
Right.
Now, how does that feel for you going to visit a retailer, and the retailer says sales are off a couple of percent, Walmart's being mean to me, and then you say what?
Oh, I mean, it's like you have the power now of the data, and you can actually show a retailer exactly where the opportunities are, where the customers are going, and we have all the tools that we can actually build the action plan with them to be able to take advantage of both their strengths and the opportunity to go after the competitors.
Yeah, isn't that cool? You know
Yeah.
exactly how to attack the competitors. So what would happen here is we'd engage the leadership team. We'd come back, and you can put this back up on the screen, and we'll take each insight. So insight is here, winning in meat, but we're going to go after produce. Tells your action, what tactics we're going to put against it, and this is just a snippet of it. And we build a written action plan with the retailer. Sean, we haven't done this yet. This is next, right? And then we implement that action plan, and then we come back and measure, and we come back and measure. And of course, when you do this, sales go up. And this process that you're seeing here is IGA 360. This is exactly what we used at Home Depot. When we wanted to go after, we had a market that was underperforming. We had a new store that was struggling against a competitor or whatever, right? It's a disciplined process to go in, to use the insights to build your action plan. And you know, it works. It just always works. And it doesn't have to be a store in trouble. It can be a store where you say, this store is great, but I want to go after those high-income shoppers. And produce, we think, is the key to getting more of those high-income shoppers into your store, because that seems to be the group that's being detoured by that food line, which we want to crush.
Well, and you bring up the opportunity, right? So with COVID, right, most every store, I have not heard one IGA retailer say that they're behind sales
Right.
as a result of COVID. So it's great to be ahead. You know, the real opportunity is how do we hold on to those longer term?
Mm-hmm.
And if you take advantage of this information now, and you start understanding your market, you've got the benefit of the analytics, and utilize the tools. The goal is, what do I do after it's over? The goal is how do I keep going and add to the success I've already gotten.
So now you can see the strategy. So you can see the insights that led to the overarching strategy of local equals fresh.
Mm-hmm.
But you got signs over here, and there's local equals fresh everywhere, all over this store. You let us go, right?
Yep.
But when spring comes around, we'll have the farmer signs in the produce saying what farm you bought from and their stories, and we're going to have local, and we can just double down on that in a way shoppers already want. But we know also is the weak point or the opportunity point with your competitor to go grab them. And there's zero reason why you can't take a store that's already comping great and take it to the next level. Yeah.
Low cost, affordable, easy to implement.
Right.
How do you go wrong?
And our consulting is free, right? So at IGA, most of the services we provide are free. And speaking of things that are free, there's obviously always a cost of data, but the things are free. One of the things you saw in there was the voice of the customer. And the voice of the customer, in the past, we've done scoring. So Sean, you get an assessment, and that assessment tells how well you're doing on cleanliness and in stock and clean bathrooms and all the rest of that. And that's from an independent rater that comes and visits lots of stores, and it gives you your score relative to the competition. And that's how that helps us to pick also IGA 5-star retailers, right? The winners. We got something new, which is voice of the customer. So what you saw there, you're going to get a net promoter score every single year. It's in test right now with 17 or 18 stores. As soon as the dashboard's finished, we're going to roll this out for next year. So you're also going to get the scores for every one of your locations of the shoppers that say they love you and recommend you versus the ones that don't versus the IGA average. So now it's what the rater thinks, and it's also what the customer thinks. And both your shoppers and also shoppers that favor the competition. And so you'll be able to see that both ways, because you know what? We can fool ourselves into think we're doing something great, but the data will make sure we're focused on the people that we want. And that's free. And then the other thing too is we used to charge for the customer service training module called Way to Care. It's a pretty elaborate program. And that was $6,000-$7,000 a year per store. I mean, it's a very expensive program. We've distilled that thing down. We've been able to include it in some, and that's included. So you've got great scores on customer service. It wouldn't be my number one place to focus, but if you want to take it from where you are to absolutely blowing everybody away, right? Put your people through that, and we know that works, and now that's free. That's included at IGA as well. So we don't want to load up the retailers with more expense, but we want to get an action plan in place. So Sean, seeing all the tools in the store, how do you feel about going and squashing that food line?
I feel strong. That's why we come to IGA. I mean, we knew the resources that were there. We knew. Again, I go back to telling the story a lot. I saw John Ross speaking in Charleston, South Carolina, over a couple years ago, and I knew right then I wanted to be aligned with that guy and his organization. So that's we talk about leadership. IGA should be proud to have you as a leader, John, and I thank you for your service, for providing leadership for IGA and a direction for us.
If you say nice things like that on camera, my face will turn the same color as my hair. And that may not be the life, but that's very sweet of you to say that. Look, it's fun, right? So retail is so fun. What we do today, put something in place, and either it works or doesn't, and you tilt. And Doug and I are so lucky. This is my question to you, Doug, right? So we're so lucky because if it works in this store, and then you go see a store in Washington State, or you see some store in a rural community in Nevada or whatever, you walk in going,
hey, if their sales are down, right, and they're looking for a way to improve, it's so easy to help them today, where before we just kind of walked out, felt bad, weren't quite sure what we could do, but now we've got a real solution that can help our independents. It's wonderful.
And it works.
It works.
And we know it works, right? So imagine, Matt, these slides could be completely different. We might pick a store and it might have a heavy, have a large percentage of Hispanic shoppers.
Right.
Or we might be in an urban center, right, where the trade radiuses are very short. And so it's not going to be a one size fits all. But if we know the signage works, we know the digital ad works, right, now we're walking in with confidence saying, no matter what it shows, we're pretty sure we can help you. And then if the retailer's willing to experiment, we can do some really cool things. So it's awesome.